Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Fire Up Michigan. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth, the Motor City Madmouth, wearing my Rolex 24 hours hat. Yes, folks, in case you're seeing me for the first time this week, I made it. And I went 30 hours in a row covering the race, and it's a 24-hour event, and went 40 hours out in your sleep. Then again, for those that know that I'm king of the road, I always wear that cap anyways because I've been driving all over the country. I made it, and that's why this show isn't on Monday, but it's on Thursday because I'm very well recovered to do it the right way. With that said, you know what? I couldn't be happier than to have the two people alongside of me today, Smoke and Jeremy B. Welcome to the Thursday night version of our big show.
Wait, it's Thursday? Just kidding.
Not me. It's in a weird way. Well, Thursday anyways, at least in my eyes. And unless you're telling me I'm dealing with that disease called dementia, but I spell it DUMBMENTIA, which if it's not in Webster's dictionary, in case you bother to look at it anyways.
I think that's what Nathaniel Hackett suffered from as head coach of the Broncos.
All right. I know. I was waiting for a crack like that. And of course, George Eichhorn. Welcome back, my partner for 43
Good to be here. Thank you for having me. Good to have you back.
Thanks. So let me give you an overview about what lies ahead before we go on and get to some topics, okay? First of all, on Monday, we're going to be welcoming a couple of new additions. Taylor Phillips and Ed Smith will be joining us on Monday. They do the Michigan Sports Truth podcast, and they want to join forces with us. So we're more than happy to go out there and bring on some new people and some new energy and blood. So Taylor and Ed Smith, they were on a couple of weeks ago. We're glad to have them back. Also, another programming note that we should all be familiar with. George and I, Eichhorn and I, are going to be doing Fire Up on our own. We appreciate the work that our previous host, Mark Mancini, did, but we feel the need that we wanted to switch it to the 8 o'clock hour. And Mancini's very busy with a lot of his other things. But we want to thank Mark Mancini for helping us get Fire Up off the ground. But the whole idea behind this show, though, is going to be that we're really looking to key in on one topic. That doesn't mean down the road we won't make modifications to it if we see the need to do it. But I'm figuring this is the type of show where George and I will talk about one topic. The show could range between 15 and 30 minutes. But we also want to use the show as an opportunity to preview some of the other broadcasts we have. So, for example, okay, number one, it could be Inside the Pigskin or 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. And also, JB Ellis and I are going to be starting a show in the next few weeks or so called The Celebrity and the Journalist, and that'll probably be close to 10 o'clock on Tuesday. So it's very possible that on Tuesday we could be looking at a triple header. George Eichhorn's also going to join me on the Sports Exchange as well, and of course his normal spot here on Fire Up Michigan. So George will be with me. Yeah, so George is going to be with me on 3 shows. Again, I don't think I'd rather have anybody else but him, although I'm really happy to have you, Jeremy. You know, you were a great find last year, and I'm looking for that as well. Jennifer Matthews-Lewis, hello, young lady. Thanks for popping in.
Congratulations, Jen. I hope you have fun at the Super Bowl.
Jennifer, all I'm going to tell you, young lady, if you don't have a lot of great stories at the Super Bowl, you're going to be in my doghouse, but I know you won't be in my doghouse because I know you're going to have some good stories, and I'm definitely all ears and all that. So we're expecting you to come up with some good stuff. I've covered 4 Super Bowls in person, been a part of 3 more, 7. George has been a part of a couple. Jennifer, soak it all in, get the best out of it you can. You, JB, and the rest of our sideline sports team out there. We're looking forward to hearing a lot more of that. So once again, a real quick overview. Taylor Phillips and Ed Smith will join us on Mondays going forward. And then, of course, George Eichhorn and I will take the baton from Mark Mancini and do Fire Up at around 8 o'clock, and then we'll have a triple header most likely that night. And George will continue to do his Fire Up Michigan responsibilities as well as our vision of the Sports Exchange. Getting all that promotional stuff out of the way. Well, we have 4 topics to go, and we're going to start off with George Eichhorn's alma mater. And why do I say George Eichhorn's alma mater? Because in many cases, they don't get a whole lot of publicity, but I can give you a reason why they are going to get a lot of publicity. I should point out that the title of the show is USFL Returns to Detroit. I'll get to that in a moment, but this is one of the rare opportunities that we can talk about George's alma mater, Wayne State University. And I think it's pretty neat because once upon a time I actually considered going there. But before I get to that topic, I do want to point out that Fire Up Michigan can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. So, folks, go out there and listen to it, whether you're in the subway or whether you're on your bicycle, walking, whatever. Also, please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. You know, folks, we want to get the brand out to as many people as we can. And if you have any good comments or you want to be a part of our show, feel free to write us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. You never know. You might be invited to join any of us on all the various different broadcasts that we have. So once again, folks, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. And of course, I just mentioned the other ways to hear the show. All right, back to Wayne State University. They hired former Michigan star Tyrone Wheatley. Well, you know what, George? Jeez, oh, Pete's my friend. It's your alma mater. What do you think about the Wheat, man, going over? Now, what is the name of the Wayne State? Last time
Warriors.
Okay, Warriors. I know
Wayne State. I think it's a great move, Scott. The Warriors made a good decision. They got to put some life back into that program. They've been suffering for years and years with a losing team, a losing record. Let's face it, it's a tough challenge. It's a very difficult challenge. Eastern Michigan is a tough challenge, but they've risen in recent years. So there's nothing that could hold Tyrone back. I mean, he's got the enthusiasm. He's got the connections here to Southeast Michigan and the U of M program. And I think he's proven himself as a coach. And like I said, it's something that was very much needed at Wayne State to put some life back into them, because the Warriors are in a tough conference. Grand Valley State's a winner. Ferris State is a winner. Grand Valley State used to be a winner in that conference. It's a very difficult conference to win in. But if one man can do it, I'm putting my faith in him to do it. So it's a good move. I love it. Tyrone's a man.
Yeah. Before I went to Florida, obviously I started Broward Community College. I went on to University of South Florida. I looked at Wayne State. So George, give me a little information about their stadium, what the capacity is.
Yeah, Adams Field, it's got a stadium capacity of about 4,000. I mean, they've made some improvements over the years. They added the Ernie Harwell Center over there by the baseball diamond. They've done a great job. Oh my God, thanks to the Pistons and their cooperation, they built the new basketball arena. But getting back to football, it's a very intimate place located over there on Trumbull Avenue by the JC Lodge and 994 freeways. You couldn't ask for a more picturesque place, if you will, in the fact that it's right in the urban skyline of Detroit. And it really, it's a typical stadium. To some people, it's only a high school stadium. Okay, I'll be honest. It's not your big college stadium that you're used to seeing at some of the schools, even like at Eastern. But it's big enough for Wayne State. I mean, they can fill it up when they have a good team and homecoming crowds and that sort of thing. So Adams Field. Oh, and I might also add, don't forget the Prep Showdown. The Detroit Sports Commission puts on the high school showdown, in August every year, featuring, like 8 different teams. Some of the best teams play in the high school showdown prior to the start of Wayne State's football season.
So if I understand correctly, you said Ernie Harwell, right? Doesn't all of his memorabilia now over there by the baseball stadium, and that where Harwell's donated it to when they were
not all of it, Scott, but some of it. Yeah, they designed a really nice, I call it a museum. It's more or less a welcome center, if you will, for the athletic complex. And it's got some great history of Ernie in there. And definitely when you're in town, you and I got to see it. And Jeremy is in town. We got to see that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, was there any part of Tiger Stadium or any of that stuff taken over there? I thought there would be certain artifacts taken over there at all. I don't know if they were or not.
I haven't been there in a while, Scott. I'm not too sure about that. I mean, of course, the 2 big things were the home plate and the flagpole. The flagpole stayed at the new site of the corner at Michigan and Trumbull, but I'm not so sure about other things. I know they've got a replica scoreboard, but I don't think it's the one from Tiger Stadium. They imitated the one that Ernie used to do. Remember when he was the Brooklyn announcer?
Yeah.
In New York, they replicated that stadium scoreboard in that center. But I'd have to check on that. I don't know if they took anything from Tiger Stadium.
Right, but you mentioned the home plate. Did they take that over there then?
Home plate, I believe it is there. I'm pretty sure.
All right, so we all know one thing about these smaller football programs. You can produce hidden gems, like you have the Senior Bowl, the Combine, all that. And obviously, Wayne State has potential. Jeremy, give me your thoughts really quickly about the Wayne State program, though. I mean, this is pretty interesting stuff.
Wayne State has produced some good products themselves that have actually made it into the pros in different sports. One that comes to mind off the top of my head is from my favorite team, joiquebell.
Right.
I mean, you remember how he got found, right? By Lions?
Yeah.
He was working security, and that one guy tried to go streaking across the field, and he tackled him, and he had, because he was able to catch him from behind when he was running fast.
That's right.
They offered him a tryout.
Really? No kidding. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's funny because he was a UDFA that washed out for, I can't remember what team it was for. And then he got picked up off of a practice squad by another team and didn't make it there. So he ended up working for Safe Management, is who runs the security at Ford Field.
I could always count on you, Jeremy, to come up with this fact that neither of us know. But I will tell you one thing, though, as we all know, joiquebell carved out an interesting little career with the Lions and moved around. Did he also go to Buffalo Bills, if I remember right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was Buffalo before Detroit, right?
Well, either way.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was Buffalo before Detroit, but he was a UDFA. I want to say it was the Saints.
I don't know. Nevertheless, joiquebell will probably go down as one of the bigger names come out of Wayne State University, outside of now Tyrone Wheatley.
Now he's a good part of that noon show on Woodward Sports as well.
Oh, is he really? No kidding. Well,
yeah, and Shoelace is on that show too.
I don't know who Shoelace is. I haven't tied one in ages. My wife tied mine.
You don't know who Shoelace is from Michigan?
On, Jeremy. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Who the heck I can know about Shoelace? Seriously.
Denard
Oh, now I know. Denard Robinson. Well, I don't think about Shoelace. I've talked about
that was his nickname, remember? Because he always wore his shoes unlaced.
Yeah. Well, whatever. All right. Now I'll talk my language, Denard Robinson. Now we have a different conversation. All right. We're going to stay. We're going to go from the Ford. We're going to stay in the Ford situation. Michigan Panthers will play the USFL games at Ford Field with the Philadelphiastars. So I guess I'm going to ask you guys, okay, this is really kind of cool stuff. All right. And this will help provide us material a little bit.
If I remember right, isn't every team, because they're going to do what they did last year, because every team played in Birmingham, Alabama. Isn't every team?
4 hubs now is what they are, Jeremy.
Oh, they did break it down into 4 hubs?
No, it'll be
4 hubs, yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's okay. But no, all kidding aside, you got the Panthers and the Stars, and I don't want to get into the others because not applicable to the show. So how are people feeling, Jeremy, about the Michigan Panthers this spring over at Ford Field? I'm going to turn to you this time, Jeremy.
Well, I think it's going to be exciting because they'll actually be close enough where Michigan Panther fans can actually attend the games. Because in Birmingham, Alabama, unless it was the Birmingham, I can't remember what their team's name was, or the Alabama team or whatever it was, the closest teams are the only ones that had any attendance. All the other ones, I mean, it looked like the 0-16 year for the Lions. I mean, that place was almost empty. But I think it'll be good. I just hope Jefffisher can finally pull his head out of his butt and realize to bring Eric Barriere back, because when he came in, that was electric when he got that second win for the team last year.
Okay. Interesting. Well, again, George and I could go back to when the original Michigan Panthers played the Pontiacsilverdome. And they put 60,000 people in a playoff game. So, George, what are your thoughts about the Michigan Panthers returning?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm happy about it, but I think it's going to be a tough sell. The sports dollar only goes so far in Detroit. And you've got a situation where the Lions are on the rebound. Now, they're going to sell out every game, of course, the Lions, as they normally do. You're also competing then with the Tigers, and you're competing with the last month, at least in April, of the Red Wings and the Pistons, which isn't saying much because neither one of them is destined for the playoffs, although the Wings still have an outside chance.
Have they started the 2-for-1 sale for Pistons and Red Wings tickets yet?
Not yet. But all kidding aside, guys, I think it's a smart move. Detroit is a good market. We've seen how Detroit reacts and how they help out the NFL with putting these games that are postponed in other cities. Detroit gets to host them. And Ford Field's an excellent location with good in and out ability. Okay, now Philadelphia is a bit of a stretch. I was hoping the Pittsburgh team would have been aligned with Detroit, but they aligned them with Canton, Ohio. And that's an easier drive for Pittsburgh to Canton than it is to Detroit. But Philadelphia is a long haul. you're going to, but it's still doable. Yeah, I really think it's exciting. I really do, because anytime Detroit can get on the map, Detroit is hosting things like NCAA tournaments and the Frozen Four. We had the Super Bowl, and so I'm excited about it too. I gotta admit, I'm going to go to some games.
All right, well, you should. And by the way, hello, Taylor Phillips.
Hey, Taylor.
See you on Monday. We mentioned it earlier.
Taylor.
And now visual now, so get ready to. We're glad to have you a part of the team, Taylor. So there you go. So yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. I mean, let's face the reality. You're only talking about 5-6 games anyways during the spring.
Right.
And if they're competitive, Detroit will put 20, 30,000 in there blindfolded if they wanted to, and depending on how. But the reason why Pittsburgh got, because Canton, Ohio is right around the backyard. So you're right.
Right.
The Philadelphia Stars made the most sense to do that. And I mean, if you're going to really line up coast to coast, you could have easily put the Philadelphia Stars with New Jersey Generals, and then you could have put, Pittsburgh and Michigan together. But that's not how they did it. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter. But I'm glad to see that that they did the Birmingham thing for 1 year. They had to see what was going on. Now they decided to gradually, and again, you're talking about gradual growth here is what you're talking about.
Exactly.
More places, and we'll see if they're ready for it again. And bear in mind, the XFL is going to be starting up in a matter of weeks as well. All right, a couple other things I want to get to, a couple coaching things. We'll just get to them briefly. Ducecestaley is going to the Carolina Panthers. I believe, what is he, assistant head coach and offensive coordinator under Frank Reich. And I'm mentioning this other one because this is a good one. I'm really happy. The Lions hired dreybly, who wants to be in Detroit and calls it home. So just give me a brief overview, Jeremy, about your thoughts about Ducecestaley going to Carolina. Are the Lions going to miss him much? And do you have any idea who they might replace him with?
So far, there's 3 candidates. The one I'm most concerned, the most excites me, is Kevin Smith, the current running backs coach for the University of Miami. I would love to see him come here and coach our running backs because I liked him for the few years he was here until his injury took him out of the game. That being said, dreybly coming back to Detroit, he was one of my favorite corners back then during that era when we stunk so bad. But
well, Kevin Smith, sorry to interrupt you, Jack. He actually was a coach at Florida Atlantic University, and of course, he came out of University of Central Florida, and they traded up to get him, if I remember right. So, but this is a 2-part question, Jeremy. Give me your top 2 or 3 guesses as to who you think the new running backs coach will be.
The favorite right now in the house is Kevin Smith. I think that's who it's going to be. Okay. And just a little added note, since we brought up Lions coaches, we did add Stephen Hayden, tight ends coach from Arizona. The reason why I bring that up is because he was the assistant head coach for Arizona under Cliff Kingsbury, who was being groomed to be the next offensive coordinator / head coach had it gone well.
Okay. Well, that's okay. Again, we're here to give updated information. That's what it's all about. So, all right. So let's go back to the real star. Well, we'll go to George. Give me your take on, first of all, the Ducecestaley situation. Then we'll transition over to dreybly. George, give me your.
Well, Ducecestaley is similar to other coaches. If Detroit continues to play well, the Lions, then this is going to happen. They're going to go on. They're going to get more money. They're going to get a better position. They're going to move on in some cases. Not every case, of course.
Right.
I mean, you got like 20 assistant coaches on these teams now in the NFL. So I'm happy for Deuce. I mean, he did a good job here in Detroit. I mean, let's face it, we had a much better running attack under him. As far as dreybly, I agree with you guys. Guy's got a lot of enthusiasm. I liked him as a player here in Detroit. He loves coming here. He wanted to come here, as he said, and I think it's a smart move. Anytime you can bring somebody back with that kind of ability to coach the defensive backs, and like I said, it's tough to lose Deuce. Kevin Smith wouldn't be a bad guy if we could get him. I really think that again, you're going to see some movement on the assistant coaches, and Aaron Glenn still is not out of the running for a head coaching job.
Right.
The Lions could still lose Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, he had his second interview today with the Colts, but they are doing a 3rd round of interviews before they do any hiring, is what they said. And he's got a second interview with the Cardinals, I believe, on Monday.
Okay. Yeah, see, what I like about the dreybly thing, and this really, when I saw it the first time, is the fact that he wants to be home and he thinks that much of the organization. The Lions are trying to bring in guys that, hey, you know what? my skin color when I bleed is red, but I'm bleeding Honolulu blue and silver inside and out. And that's what you got with the energy level with Dre Bly. It's what you have. This is what makes me feel good. Now, again, here's your biggest thing. If you start winning, teams are going to take your coaches away. The Lions are just fortunate that the offensive coordinator didn't go to Carolina. And if you're going to lose anybody, Deuce, we wish you well under Frank Reich. But what is it? Ben Johnson, I think it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's staying.
At least he's still with the Lions. So,
and now I do have something to add to that. Since he was made offensive coordinator, he was a positional coach. And because he's a minority coach that gets a better position, it isn't a 3rd round pick like when it's a head coach, but I believe we get 2 5th round picks for him. We get a 5th round pick this year as a compensatory pick and a 5th round pick next year.
No kidding. Well, so there you go. Brad Holmes, once again, you know what? The Lions continue to pick up these picks. You bring in Brad Holmes, and what did you end up doing? You had to go ahead and didn't they have to sacrifice a pick or two to get this guy, I believe? But that's
no. They got compensatory picks because he came here.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
We don't. And somebody tried to say, didn't San Francisco get picks for picking up Mayhew? I was like, no, it didn't work that way because he downgraded his position. He went from GM to assistant GM.
Jeremy, how that works. So the Lions got picks because they brought in Brad Holmes, and all Brad Holmes does is swindle every team that he makes a trade with.
Yeah, the Rams got picks for us getting Holmes.
Yeah, I got news for you. Holmes will fleece anybody.
Not saying they did anything with him. I think they traded away almost everything. I don't think they have a 1st round pick till 2030.
Who's this?
The Rams.
Oh, never mind. This isn't a Rams show. So
no, this isn't Rams. Let them go.
No, I was making a joke about how bad they are,
and I'm making a bigger joke back. Let me tell you what. We ought to call Brad Holmes Mr. Fleece because I'll tell you, at the rate he's going, he's going to fleece. And beware of the Holmes. And call him Sherlock. And you know what? I'm not Chris Berman, but we'll just say we'll call him Brad Sherlock Holmes in tribute to Chris Berman. Okay, so there you go. We'll leave it at that.
That sounds good.
Hey, I'm feeling good on Thursday. Not so sure I would have felt this lively on Monday night. All right, last but not least, okay, how can we have a Fire Up Michigan show when we talk about the legendary Jerry Green, 94 years of age, 56 Super Bowls, won't do 57 in a row, but I've had the opportunity to work with Jerry on 4 of them. He's been kind of like a mentor of sorts to me and a very good friend. And, you know, Jerry, hopefully maybe we can get him on the show. If we can't, at least we're just thankful that we come across a guy like him.
94 years young.
Yeah, unreal. Jerry, to me, the Super Bowl won't be the same without you, and everybody on the planet knows it. And the NFL sent us a press release mentioning Jerry Green, and obviously this show will be inserted in that press release when we get it out on social media as well. But George, you know Jerry well, and hopefully you'll be in contact with him, and maybe we can get him to come on. But
I tell you, he's an unbelievable person and a personality. He is just a great guy, a mentor to so many of us, as you mentioned, Scott, in the writing business. Jerry is a survivor. He is a man that never once relinquishes a story or a scoop to the competition. He relished those days when the free press and the news were so competitive against each other to try to get the top story in pro football. And, you know, Jerry was one of the few writers, I think there were only like 2 or 3 that were invited to interview Joe Namath when Joe Namath sat poolside in Miami for the Super Bowl. And he made that famous prediction about we're going to beat the Colts. And everybody said, what? You know, brash Joe Namath. And Jerry was one of those reporters there that day. And that's just a great story of his. And he was there when the Tigers won the World Series in '68. The newspapers were on strike. And I know I'm digressing a little bit, but Jerry was there writing about the Tigers and made a great book about the '68 Tigers. And, you know, and not only that, like I said, he's in the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame. He's a lifetime member of the Detroit Sports Media Association. And those awards don't mean anything to him. What was the most special thing is the Joe DiMaggio streak, the 56 games that Jerry and Joe are tied for that 56 game streak. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing, Jeremy, before I turn it over to you about Jerry, you know, when I think of Detroit sports writers, I think of Joe Falls, Charlie Vincent, Tom Gage, and Lynn Henning. To me is, you know, if you had a Mount Rushmore of 5, you put Jerry on it. But when you put those 5 guys on a list like this, I don't think you can do any better in the history. I know you're a book in a moment, but those 5 to me are just unbelievable. I love Joe Falls, and but you got to remember when I'm traveling on the road and we're outnumbered by like 50, 60,000 people sitting in a press box. You end up getting to know these guys personally, and they got to know me real well. I would always put Mike O'Hara and Kirk Sylvester on a good list too because of that as well. So, to me, it's just kind of neat to be able to think that we have such a great history in Metro Detroit as well. And, these guys. So, Jerry Green, God love you. Glad I had a chance to work with you. I'm just probably more prouder that I know you and that we became friends, Jerry, than anything else. And everybody, it's unfortunately, Jeremy, you never got to meet him. Also, want to point out another thing here. You want to talk about a friend of the show. This guy is definitely it.
I was just going to say, bring that up.
John Gonzalez shared our show to my group. John's a very loyal supporter and a very good friend of mine. And you talk about some of the groups that we have on Facebook. This guy, John Gonzalez, is just truly fantastic. So,
hi, John. Good to have you.
John, we appreciate you very much allowing us to put your content in such an outstanding group. You're truly awesome, in my opinion. So, all right, Jeremy, give me your thoughts quickly on, Jerry Green.
Well, all I can go by is what you 2 gentlemen said, because I didn't get very many of the Detroit newspapers growing up, being from Flint area. And when I wasn't in the Flint area, I was in Shiawassee County, which is like the black hole of major sports writings. But other than that,
the ways of describing stuff, JD.
You had a couple of good ones there, Jeremy. Doug Mintline and Dean Howe.
Dean Howe.
Dean Howe.
I love Dean Howe. He was great. Yeah. I'm just saying, for the Flint Journal, there was some good writers there.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, outside of that area, when I was 8 years old, we moved to Durand, home of the Railroaders.
Right.
And it was a black hole for sports. If I couldn't watch it on TV, I didn't know sports.
Yeah.
George, I'm sorry to interrupt you. JB, all of you got it all. Yeah, Dean Howe was great. I used to hang out with him all the time.
I know you did, Scott.
Oh, yeah, we did. Who's the guy?
Outpick Pointers. That was the other one. Dave Pointer, I think his name was.
Oh, yeah, Dave Pointers.
Yep, and
another good one.
I actually won that two weeks.
Wow.
Wasn't Leo Martinozzi the guy from Holland, too, if I remember
right? Yes. Leo was out in Holland.
Guy that was unreal. Listen, folks, we're giving you a list of some sports writers here. But again, you know what? This discussion doesn't come unless we talk about Jerry Green. Then I'm able to label a bunch of them. So Jerry,
kudos to him, and that's a hell of a streak. That's all I got to say. That's a hell of a streak he had, and I'm glad you 2 had a chance to know him personally.
Oh, Jerry!
Thank you.
The first time I actually worked with him on a Super Bowl was actually here in Miami, and then we used to hang out a lot. So to me, it was unreal. The history of sports writing in Metro Detroit is unreal, But this has just been so much fun tonight. When we talk Tyrone, Wheatley, the Panthers, Staley, Green, and Bly, it just feels like a warm show. Let alone the fact we're adding Phillips, and of course our new show, Fire Up, that you and I are going to take the baton, George, and do all kinds of different things with it. And we do want to once again thank Madman Mancini for helping us get it going. One of the reasons we had to do it, we had to move it to a later time frame. And I know Mark is really busy with a lot of his other stuff. And we just wanted to try to take it to a level where we can kind of give it a little bit of TLC and try to build it to certain levels as well. So, and we got another guy here. This is unbelievable, these guys here. What's up, fellas? Checking in from the Sports Authority Facebook group. Anthony Finkel, you're the man, partner. Thanks very much for dropping in. We really appreciate you big time. We're going to keep feeding you a lot more. Just keep sharing it, everybody. And with you people on Sports Authorities, can you kindly help us out and pass on and see if more people will subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. We want to be able to grow this thing as much as we can to give you the best stuff that we can put there. But between you, John Gonzalez, and Anthony Finkel, we appreciate you so much for popping in. You really made our night more special for thinking about us tonight. So with that said, go ahead, Jeremy.
I want to say thank you for sharing to the Facebook groups, but if you can, go to the YouTube channel, like the show, then share it that way, because that gets us more views actually on the YouTube channel, which will help us grow even faster, because the more hours you have, plus subscribers equals more money.
Attaboy, Jeremy.
Attaboy.
I need an agent, Jeremy B. Of course, I already have one. That's you.
You're talking, Jeremy.
Look at this guy. Yeah, Jeremy G, Jerry Green, all that stuff. All this nostalgic business. But yeah, meanwhile, for all you guys that are joining us right now, I survived the Rolex 24. I'm darn well happy.
You sure did. King of the road, baby.
That's
King
it.
of the road.
I can wear 2 caps at once, although some people might try. No, I'm proud to display my Rolex 24 hours, and I will thank Stephanie Harris up in Daytona Beach for giving us the opportunity to cover the race, but we still feel hopefully we have some more auto racing in there before spring training kicks in. With that said, great broadcast tonight. Of course, I'm going to be biased toward it. Then again, when you surround yourself with good teammates, you should. So, and hope you don't get turned off with the excessive confidence that I feel very confident the people that we bring on here. I'm proud of everybody, and we have some new people coming in, so stay tuned and keep watching. With that said, we've been talking about sports writers. All right, Jeremy, as we get ready, I'm going to mention this one last time, okay? That Fire at Michigan can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you're on Twitter, follow me at Tribune South Florida Tribune as well. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Certainly like to get more, but let's get to 1,000 first. We can go from there. Also, our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And Katie Ebling does a phenomenal job, putting everything up on the website, as well as her contribution on the show. She's been on more and more shows as well. So, we do everything we can to get it out there in so many different ways. And I just wanted to make sure I had an opportunity to bring that up one more time. So, all right, Jeremy, you know what? Lead off. Let everybody know they get a hold of you.
Well, you can get a hold of me, as it says there, at Ballrick Jeremy on Twitter or at Smoking Jeremy B, because I check in on both of them. That being said, you can also find me on my YouTube channel, which covers strictly Lions. Other than one show a week, I do an NFL-based show. It is Kneecap Biting with Smoking Jeremy B. And, of course, you can follow my writings, my editorials about our Detroit Lions on the SouthFloridaTribune.com under the Motor City Tribune heading with the 3 hash marks. And that will let you know exactly what I think about the Lions and how I do my game reviews and previews.
All right, before we
Smoking Jay, Denzel Snipes. What's up, buddy?
We got to put big. I'm going to tell you, I love working with Denzel Snipes. We worked on Basketball together, but one of my real favorite shows is Pundits. I'm going to tell you, between Jennifer Matthews Lewis and especially, Denzel Snipes and Jacob Christner, I'm going to tell you, that Pundits show is unbelievable. Between Denzel and Jacob Christner, we only did 2 topics the other day, and they got me lit up so bad that I felt so bad for Jacob Christner that I was cutting him off a little bit toward the end. But Jacob, like the true pro he was, and let me go, and Denzel was there. We all had a blast doing it. So, that's just a heck of a show. And we love the work that we do with JB Ellis and the rest of that group. There you go. Thanks for picking in there, Denzel. And we're going to bring you on one of these shows here eventually. So stay tuned. Now, of course, you're most likely to go on the Sports Exchange on Wednesday night. We're going to slide you in for that double header that you've only been on one time. All right. Well, since we've been talking about sports writers, okay, Jeremy, what do you got?
Before we go any further, we are going to do a parting shot after this, right?
If you want. I hadn't planned on it, but since you're chomping at the bit to do it, we probably will. But before we do the parting, come on, Jeremy. I know your style, man. But yeah, you know what, Denzel, I think you can reach out to Jeremy B. I'm sure he'd love to have you on.
Absolutely, Denzel. Scott knows how to get a hold of me. Send me a link. I'll join.
Nah, boy. All right. With that said, we started on. Yeah. All right. You know what, Jeremy? Before we get to Eichhorn's book information, which it might be a little bit, anyways, give me your parting shot since you were chomping at the bit to give it, anyways.
My parting shot is kudos. For the first time since 1971, the Lions have 4 offensive players in the Pro Bowl, and for the second time in 50 years, we have a quarterback in the Pro Bowl. If that doesn't say that this team is turning around, that should actually make you think a minute.
All right. Well, you know what, George, why don't you give a parting shot first?
Well, my parting shot is, don't forget, Jeremy, they were alternates. They were not picked for the first and second team.
That one was first team. That was Frank Ragnow.
One. I'm just saying, yes, I know. But a lot of guys drop out of the Pro Bowl because of the playoffs, because of injuries, because I didn't want to go, even though it's going to be a flag football game. I'm not taking anything away from those 4 guys. I'm not. But I'm just saying, don't forget they had to go down the list.
I understand.
I understand. So, Yeah, you can reach me at SNG Sports 99 on Twitter. You can read me at Motor City Tribune, just like Jeremy mentioned, under the South Florida Tribune. You can read me in the Detroit Monitor. I'm on with Scott several shows during the week. I'm excited about that. And Fire Up Michigan and Fire Up and Sports Exchange. We are going to have some great shows lined up. And you can reach me, as I mentioned, gicorn@yahoo.com. And also you can reach me on Twitter, or else you can find me on this wonderful station, the South Florida Tribune.
Yeah, why don't you flash in your book and give a little info on that?
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Thank you, Denzel Snipes. That's all I got to say.
Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air features the likes of Ernie Harwell, George Kell, Bud Lynch, Frank Beckman, George Blaha, and Scott Morganroth, also in this book, as he interviewed my friend, you're my friend. You interviewed the big stars, Muhammad Ali and Jimmy Connors. And I never interviewed those two, Scott. So that's why you deserve a place in my book, because you were launching your broadcast career back in the day, and a couple of pictures of you, and as well as all of our colleagues.
Yeah, you know what? I don't really have a parting shot tonight. The only thing I'll mention is I know the Detroit Tigers recently announced their new broadcasters, and they have a lot of them. So I know Jack Morris isn't going to be there, but they brought in Cameron Maben. And I remember I had an opportunity to interview Cameron Maben before he got traded for Miguel Cabrera. I know how that worked out. So I always get the baseball package. I'll be anxious to see how all these announcers blend in. Of course, one of my favorite people out there is Trevor Thompson, but they're all good people. So I'll be paying attention to Tiger broadcast, during the season and see what's what. And I'm hoping, if my schedule permits it, that I'll be able to see 2 or 3 Tiger games when they come down to Miami. I don't know. My schedule these days, folks, has really gotten to the point where I get out so much now that this is my first weekend home in 7 weekends. When you think about what we've done,
wow,
get this. Yeah, no, this is unreal. We've been in Wisconsin for 2 weekends, up in Jacksonville for 3, and Daytona Beach. So I'll be curious to see how the new Tigers broadcasting team, I don't know what led to Jack Morris not being there, and I'm not going to speculate anyways. I know that there was probably
he got suspended for something he said last season for like
right. I had heard something about that. I didn't know if that attributed to the change this year, and I don't want to go deep into that at all.
I'm pretty sure it might have had something to do with it. But
we don't know for sure. We don't know
whether that was the final decision or not. I don't know.
No, I don't speculate. My only concentration is right now, as I'll be mainly curious to see how the new group does. I know they have a lot of them, and I'll be anxious to see what Cameron Maben brings to the show as well, because he started out as a Tiger and moved around an awful lot. So, it'll be interesting. Again, I do get the baseball package, and I like to watch it when I'm not covering the Marlins here in Southern Florida for sure. So it's neat. And one other thing I should mention about Jim Harbaugh. Okay, you know what? Rick Hurdy mentioned it earlier in the week. Jim, I understand you like to check out NFL jobs, but at some point or another, it's an uncomfortable situation recruiting-wise, and at some point it might bite you in the rear end if coaches recruit against you, say you don't know if he's going to be here or there. So, but Jim, I still think you've done an unbelievable job, and I'm just thankful that you're coaching the Michigan Wolverines, because I think we all appreciate you as well. So I've given all my information so a few times over. I'll just ask one last time, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. It would be greatly appreciated. We want to grow this platform as much as we can. And let me tell you, if you have any ideas or suggestions you want to appear on the show, please don't hesitate to contact the South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. You never know, you could be occupying one of these spots alongside any of us on all the different shows. And all of our shows are actually listed on the South Florida Tribune. Just look under the broadcast side, you'll see all the different ones. And I'll leave everybody on this note. One of my top priorities is I'm freeing up my Saturdays from other past responsibilities is to do a lot more non-sports related shows, as well as one-on-one interviews. George will tell you right now, I love doing one-on-one interviews. Yep. And I really want to have an opportunity to expand on that more in 2023, as well as more human interest in and out of the sports world. And at this point in time in my life, I've done a lot. I want to find other ways to challenge myself. And I'm sure a lot of people out there would hope that they can challenge yourself, and don't be afraid to try something outside of your comfort zone, because you never know, you might find that to be just as fulfilling as well. So
I love what Denzel Snipes said after I said about Goff. Goff played out of his mind this year. He deserved a Pro Bowl. Number 1, 7th in yardage, tied for 5th in touchdowns, and in the top 10 in interceptions thrown, as in the least amount of interceptions thrown. If that doesn't say anything that he's improved over the last 2 seasons, I don't know what you got to say about it.
No disagreement. No disagreement here.
All I know is another fleece job by Brad Holmes. So, Rams got their Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford. The Lions have a quarterback that they can continue to work with, and I'm glad the offensive coordinator stayed there. And I'm anxious to see what other developments they have on the coaching staff. All the way around, it looks good. I'm just anxious to see how things are going to turn out with the Michigan Panthers over at Ford Field. More importantly, I'm glad that Wayne State brought in a pretty good coach in Tyrone Wheatley, and hopefully because what people better understand as I leave you all on this note here, is a lot of your hidden gems come from places like Wayne State University. They really do. And I'll tell you, those undrafted free agents are coming from someplace. Those 6th, 7th round pick, I'll tell you right now, don't think there aren't some of those over at the Senior Bowl. Don't think that there's some of them over at the Combine. Don't tell me that Jerry Rice started at a Power 5 school. He didn't. Walter Payton didn't either.
HBCU.
Well, that's it. Walter Payton, same thing. The list goes on and on. You can find talent anywhere. You just be able to coach it up and develop it. And that's, to me, as we approach the Super Bowl, okay, that's exactly what Super Bowl teams are made of. They don't have to be at Power 5 schools. They could be at much smaller universities, because you know what? You can have all the talent in the world, but you're going to find that a lot of these people that you're scouting, you might find somebody that at these combines and private workouts for teams and say, hey, this guy doesn't look so bad there. And all of a sudden he's on your team. And how does that work out?
Yeah.
Pretty good. So that's it. So anyways, glad to do this on Thursday night. We'll go back to our regular spot on Monday. And of course, Taylor Phillips and Ed Smith will join us. And once again, George, we get to do our first fire up together on Tuesday night. And I'm looking forward to things that we're going to do on every show that we have. I know I sound a little redundant, but this show, the redundancy only indicates one thing. I'm excited.
Yep, me too.
I'm excited with the crew I have here, as well as some of the other people that are going to be incorporated here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcast Network / South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. So with that said, on behalf of Smoke and Jeremy, who will definitely get airtime on other shows as the openings progress, and he already knows that. So you can go out there, salute all you want, have that fanciest headsets. At least you can visualize them. So, but once again, on behalf of Smoke and Jeremy B., and George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morgan, Motor City Mouth, appropriate name, especially for this show. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Fire Up Michigan, and we will catch you next Monday night. Have a great weekend, everybody. Goodbye now.
Spade neuter your pets.
Bye now.